Day. All right. In the meantime, we talk about what role a third party could conceivably play. Everyone tries to corner Donald Trump on that issue, whether he runs as a third party. Well, this guy already has. He's poised to do so again. Gary Johnson, Republican turned independent candidate. Gary, you know what they're saying here, that Donald Trump is setting himself up for a third party run. But this time, if he were to do so, he'd have a lot of company, right?
Well, not only that, Neil, but it's really problematic to run as a third party. He can have all the money in the world, and there are rules and legislation that that has been passed in states that if you go through the first primaries, for example, as a Republican, all the money in the world is not going to get him on the ballot in states that legislatively will preclude him from doing that. And there's no reason why he shouldn't continue on as a Republican, because he is leading in the polls.
But, you know, even when you go back to 1992 and Ross Perot got 19% of the vote, he still didn't end up getting electoral votes. So for all of that, even if you have a shot of making some popular vote inroads, and he certainly did, many Republicans argue he tipped the scale in favor of Bill Clinton. But be that as it may, I mean, even getting the popular vote is one thing. Winning the state outright and picking up the electoral votes, quite another, right?
Well, quite another. In 2012, I don't think most people recognize that there were only 4 candidates that conceivably could have been president of the United States. I was one of those as the Libertarian nominee. Yeah, you can run as a third party, but you've got to be on the ballot in enough states to actually win. And like I say, it's very problematic. He can have all the money in the world, but it's not going to buy him slots in states where, if he runs as a Republican, they're going to exclude him running as a third party going forward.
Well, Governor, do they put a limit then on the number of third party or extra party candidates? In other words, if you were running, or let's say under the Reform Party or whatever, that there's a limit that some states have, no more than 3 candidates running for president. How does that work?
No, not a limit, but okay, so in Michigan, for example, you're running as a Republican, and there is beyond a certain date, I can't tell you what the date is, but this applies to maybe 20 states, where they set a date that if you are in the primary, if you are running as a Republican beyond a certain date, you cannot then turn around and be a third party. And he's going to run up against that in many, many states, to the point that he won't electorally even have a chance to be president of the United States. He won't have a chance to garner 270 electoral votes, even if he gets all the votes, even if he gets all the electoral votes in all the states that he is on the ballot.
But I wonder how much of this is driven by anger. Maybe not in your part. I hear you, but how much of this is driven by anger? If he feels ticked off at Republicans and all, he'll do it as maybe a suicidal mission for himself. But if he drags down Republicans, all the better. I don't know whether that ever drove you, that this was the party that kind of pushed you aside, so you said, well, you know what, I'm going to come back as a third-party candidate, make your life hell.
Well, I got boot marks on my ass from being booted out of the Republican Party. Everybody on stage in 2012 was a social conservative. I'm not a social conservative. I think the majority of Americans fall in the category of being fiscally conservative and socially, you know what, I don't care how you live your life as long as it doesn't adversely affect mine. Well, I'm in that category. I think most people are. The fact that the Republican Party did not allow that representation, when I think that speaks on behalf of the majority of Republicans, you know, like I say, personally, I got booted.
But you used the Heine word, which was very strong language, Governor. It's always good having you, my friend. Thank you very, very much.